Hey everyone, my name is David Rao and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Twitter, on Pinterest, on YouTube, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter, Music Education. I'm so excited to be sharing a little bit more tonight. In the past few weeks I've been sharing lesson ideas, books, songs, resources for all different grades, and then especially focusing on like younger grades. And I think for me that's been a focus, trying to figure out like how am I going to adapt what I'm doing for younger grades. And it's been sort of tricky. So I hope that's been really helpful. Today I'm going to start to focus a little bit more on older grades and to talk about 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. To share with you what I'm currently doing, what I'm going to start doing, because things are going to change, because why not change everything once you sort of get things going? Why not just throw it all out the window and start something new? So I'm going to be talking about how I'm adapting what I already have into something new, and then what I'm going to hopefully start doing moving forward. So a couple things to tell you. You can always find, if I talk about any links or anything else, you can find all of those links on the links page. There's a page on my blog dedicated to all the stuff that I talk about in these videos. And if you go to my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, and click on the video tab, at the bottom of the little drop down, it'll say Musical Mondays Recap 2020-2021. You can go to my blog and do that, or on Facebook there at the bottom of the caption for this video, there's a link to that, and on Instagram there's a link on my LinkedIn profile. So that's there. You can always go and join my Facebook group, Every Moment Matters, Music Education Community. There's some great conversations going on there. I like to pop in there and post links and post ideas, and it's just fun to have a back and forth, and it's more of a conversation and less of David sitting in his home office talking to his phone. Okay, let's see. There's one more thing that I wanted to just say really quickly. So I know that it's October, and it's like super stressful because there's so much going on. So one of the things that I've done that I've never done before, I thought I'd try it out for October. All of the resources in my store, my Teachers Pay Teachers store, that are Halloween themed, I put them in one huge bundle. So it's like everything Halloween. So if you're like, I want the bulletin boards and the interactive games and the centers and the, like literally anything that's October or Halloween, it's all in one bundle. Maybe you bought one thing here or one thing there or nothing. But I've never done something like this. So it's there if you're interested, and you could just get everything. And then anything else I add in the future, Halloween themed, will all go into that. So that's there if you're interested in Halloween or Teachers Pay Teacher stuff. Okay, so, and one more thing. I don't know if I can do a poll. Like, I wish I could do a poll on this Facebook Live. Nope, can't do it. I wish I could, because I'm hoping to try something new maybe in the next couple weeks. Can I take a poll? No, can't take a poll. I don't know how you all watch these videos. I know some people are like in their car waiting for their daughter to get out of softball practice, or on the go or whatever. I know a lot of people will watch the video later. That's one of the reasons that I have all the audio. I take it and I put it into a podcast so you can listen to it if you want to listen to it as a podcast. Don't want to mess with the video. I repost it on YouTube because there's some people who are like, well, I would watch it on Facebook on my planned period, but my school filters out Facebook, so I've been putting it on YouTube. So in an effort to try and make them more accessible, I've been considering trying to find a way to do these Facebook Lives, instead of vertical, to do them horizontal, so they're like more wide than they are up and down, if that makes sense. So I don't know if you could just like give a comment where you're watching, like, I'm watching it on my phone or I'm watching it on my computer. Because if you're watching on your computer, theoretically the horizontal would be just fine. But if you're like on your phone, then you'd probably want the up and down, if that makes any sense. You'd want the vertical. So if you could just drop a quick comment, and I know that's probably going to blow up the comments, but if you could just drop a quick comment saying like, I'm watching on my phone or I'm watching on my computer, especially if you're watching this later, it'd be cool if you could say like, I'm watching this on my phone. I guess either way, if you're on your phone, you could maybe turn it. If we're doing this horizontal, you could watch it that way. I don't know. Anyway, so if you could just leave a comment, that would be helpful, because I'm trying to decide for the future whether I should do it horizontal or not. So thanks so much for your feedback. Okay, so I wanted to talk before I get into like the straight up just lesson plans, because this is not yet in my lesson plan. So I wanted to share about an idea before before I'm actually going to use it, so you can maybe get some of these resources too if you're interested. So I've shared before about this book, The Best Mariachi in the World. It's a really sweet book, written by J.D. Smith and illustrated by Danny Jones. I know that the text is backward currently. We're just going to go with that for now. But The Best Mariachi in the World, I've shared about it before. I'm using it. I've used it now this year and last year for Latinx Heritage Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, and I've also used it to introduce the idea of mariachi music, because I found a lot of my students when I lived in Georgia maybe had heard mariachi before or had seen it on TV or whatever, but didn't really have a lot of context or backup or information about what mariachi is. And so I use this as sort of like a segue to give more information. So the idea of the book is that there's this boy, Gustavo, and he was the worst mariachi in the world. He really wanted to be a part of the family band, but he couldn't play an instrument. And so the thing that I really love about it, and then it gives some keywords about what mariachi is. He did not wear un traje de charro, which is like the outfit, the traditional thing that they wear, or un sombrero, the hat. So, and it goes through and it says like, oh, well, he didn't play an instrument. So then they go through and they talk about la trompeta, the guitarrón, like the different parts that are the traditional instruments in a mariachi band. And he like daydreams about, oh, what would it be like if I could be part of the mariachi band? And it throws in some Spanish words. So like in the sentence, even his cousins who would not let him try to play their guitarrón or tocar un trompeta or violín, which that's really interesting because it's not just throwing in like the vocabulary word like guitarrón, but it's also saying like or tocar una trompeta, which means like play a trumpet. So that's cool. It integrates more Spanish language in as it's talking about the story. So Gustavo goes and he dreams and he's thinking about, oh, I wish I could do it. And he's inspired by looking out at the desert sky at night. And he just sings a little bit. And the next day he sings a little bit louder. And here again, the day after that, Gustavo canto a little bit louder. So throwing in the Spanish there too. And then not thinking about how early it was or where he was, he started singing very loud and he woke up people in the town with his singing, but it was okay, it was good because he was a good singer, right? So Gustavo kept singing, a crowd of people came out to listen, and they decided like, well, you can't play an instrument, but you can sing, you can be our singer in the mariachi band. And there are always just fun elements that give you more information about what it would be like to live in Mexico, or what it'd be like if you lived in a family where mariachi was a big part of your life. So anyway, he gets to wear the clothes and he gets to sing the song and he gets to be part of the group. Super sweet book, right? So I was looking like what's another thing that can go with that? Like what's a supporting document, or what's a video, or what's something that would give more context? Because I could talk about it, but it's not at all as effective as if someone who was in the mariachi world talked about it. And I found this video today and I wanted to share it with y'all. So I'm going to do the flip screen thing to show you a video on my laptop. So again, if you're just tuning in, I asked a minute ago, could you tell me if you're watching on your iPhone or on the computer or somewhere else? Because I'm considering, instead of going vertical, being horizontal. And if I did that, I would be able to integrate technology a little bit better instead of just pointing the camera at my computer. But anyway, I'm going to flip around the camera, so stick with me a second. This always works so well and is so smooth. Just kidding, it never does that. But let me try and flip this around to show you the video I found because it's really cool. Okay, so here you can sort of see my computer. Let me zoom in here. Oh, this is another fun thing that I did. So I took some photos of classroom instruments like cabasas and xylophones and drums and triangles and whatever. And that is the background, or that is the screensaver on my computer now, which is really fun so kids can see those instruments. When like my computer goes to sleep or whatever. Anyway, okay, so let me show you this video. So this is one that I found today as I was looking for like a, put my password. Oh no. As I was looking for a video to go with mariachi music. So I searched what is mariachi, and I found this really cool video. This is actually put out by Netflix. Like they had a new show come out, and this was like one of their promotional material things. I've never seen the video, or the movie that it promotes, but it is really cool, and I wanted to show you this part of it.
Sí, señor. Sí se puede. Every time I see mariachi walking into a place, I see them with this swag. Like they look so cool. Yeah. Like if they're in slow motion, and now I know why. It's the pants. There's no way that you can walk any faster in these pants. But this is so beautiful. I have so many incredible memories with mariachi. So what are we doing?
Today I'm going to teach you a couple of elements of mariachi because you've taught me so much while we were shooting Ashley Garcia. So when I was little, my family and I would go to Juarez, Chihuahua, which is the border town of El Paso. Yeah. So we would go every single weekend, hang out with family, we would have house parties, and at the end of the night, we would all sing mariachi music.
I've seen this girl sing mariachi. It's one of the most amazing things I've witnessed. I told you these pants were tight. I told y'all that's how tight this is. All right. What are we singing?
We're going to sing Cielito Lindo today, but first I wanted to show you a couple elements. So this is a trapo, right?
Yes.
So we have the
So it goes through what they wear.
Skirt. We have the belt. Nice.
Belt right here.
Yes, you have the white button-up collared shirt.
I got it.
Then we have the jackets and moño. And for ladies, we have our hair slick.
Your moño is beautiful. I want to give credit to
my
Patricia.
mom made it.
Patricia made the moño.
And then for ladies, the red lipstick is classic. If you want to.
So it gives really fun context.
Okay.
I'm just going to mute them. So it goes through, it talks a little bit about what they wear, it talks about how they act, like some of the common things you might see. They talk about el grito, which is like the scream sounds that they make. They introduce each of the instruments that are typical. This is really cool because for kids from like a background that are non-Latino, non-Hispanic, these are not typical instruments. So the guitarrón, the really huge bass guitar, the vihuela, which is more of like a rhythm guitar, and then we go back. So then there's the trumpet and the violin. So then they talk a little bit about, here, let me back up, and you can hear this part.
Yes.
So I want to talk about gritos really quick.
So grito.
Well, my favorite grito to do is like rolling the R's. It's just.
Do y'all know how to do one?
I think y'all can do this. You try it and then they'll show you. There you go. Can someone here from the mariachi show us like the classic grito?
So then they go through and then they sing Cielito Lindo, which probably some of our kids have heard before. Let's get to the chorus that you might know if you don't know this. Okay, let me flip this back around. So it's a really fun video that you could potentially use with your students if you're going to be talking, if you're going to use Best Mariachi in the World, if you want to use that book, or if you're going to be talking about mariachi music, if you're going to be trying to integrate that a little bit. So it's from Netflix. It's free on YouTube. It's like maybe 5.5 minutes long. It'd be super easy to also integrate if you're doing like a Google Classroom. If you're still long distance, it'd be really easy to add in. And it's just a really cool video to give context and to give kids more information about what mariachi is. And also it would be cool if they've seen, I don't know, Ashley Garcia, is that the name of the show? I don't know what the show is that they're promoting. But it's a really cool video to give you context about mariachi, to show you the traditional clothing, to show you the traditional instruments, to give you a taste of the music. And they're singing in Spanish, but it does have subtitles there. So if you wanted to translate and explain what they're saying, you could do that too. But super cool book, or super cool video. It's free. It integrates, would go so well with Best Mariachi in the World, or if you have another book that you really like, or if you just want to do a presentation of the mariachi, whatever you're doing, it's a really cool resource that you can integrate in to your lesson, and it's free. Thank you, Netflix. There are some other What is Mariachi videos on YouTube. If you have one that you really like, please share that. I'd love to use that resource as well, or if there's one that you think you're like, here's one that I use, but I use this part or whatever, like let me know. It'd be cool to see that. So this book, The Best Mariachi in the World, I put it on the links page and it links to an Amazon link, but don't buy it from Amazon because right now on Amazon the hard copy is $47 and the paperback is $864, which means like they probably don't actually have it, but it is still somehow listed, or maybe they have like one random copy. But don't buy it from Amazon because it's really ridiculously expensive. So instead, go to like a discount bookstore, get it through your library. If you tell your librarian at your school or a library at your like local library branch, they could probably request it. Mine is just actually, it's a library disc card, like it's an old one from a library in Chicago that I got on a discount book website. So spread the word if you really like this one and have people look for it for you. It's a great book. Anyway, The Best Mariachi in the World pairs really well, is great for Latinx Heritage Month. I have a whole list on my Amazon ideas page of books for Latinx History Month. And so if you're looking for more books for that, or you want just a little bit more inspiration, there are things there. And just like this one, you should not buy from Amazon because it's so expensive on Amazon. Like who's going to pay $860? But don't buy it there. But the cool thing, the reason I keep using Amazon is because you can pull out the ISBN number. It lists the picture. Sometimes it lists a little bit of the story. So it's a great place to go and review, even if you're going to buy somewhere else. But there are a bunch of other books. Some of them are on Amazon are just as cheap as a discount book website, so you can just get them and get them in a couple days. Some of those books there. So price match, compare, but there are a lot of ideas there, and I keep finding more books and keep pulling more into that list. So I've added a couple even in the last week. One list on Amazon that I'm continuing to work on is my books for integrating music books about indigenous cultures, and I had a few books there, and I found some really cool ones this week, especially for Native Americans, but I'm trying to find some for Native peoples all around the world. So I would love if you have book recommendations for books that incorporate music or could be used for music, or that you just love, that are about indigenous peoples or made by indigenous peoples. Please send those to me so that I can get them myself and so I can put them on the book list and share them with others, because I'm continuing to get more ideas, but I'd love to have more for indigenous people. So please send those to me. You can email ideas to makemomentsmatter@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment here. But I would love to have more books in my arsenal for that, but also to just include more Native peoples on my bookshelves and to share with my students and to incorporate into lessons. So please share those ideas because I'm working on that. Okay, so let me talk about older grades. Younger grades has been a struggle, right? Because I feel like with younger grades, it's like in a normal year, it's like song, 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 poem, song, little thing, movement, song. And I was talking with my principal because, like one of the things that I struggle with right now is I don't know how to vary my lessons as well. Because before, I could just like sense like, okay, let's get up and move. Let's move to a new spot. Let's shake it up. Let's scramble. Let's sing a little song. Ooh, what about this song? I got a puppet that sings, like, all these little bits that just can flow together, right? But that don't work so well when you can't sing in class or when you can't move. And so up to this point, I've been in the classrooms, and tomorrow is my last day in the classroom. Starting Thursday, so Wednesday's a Zoom day, starting Thursday, they're all going to be coming down to the music room, and I'm going to have full classes, not half classes, because we're shifting from hybrid to full in-person. So everything's going to change a little bit. I'm still not going to be able to sing. I'm not really going to be able to move, but like a little bit more because desks and things won't be in the way. So that'll make kindergarten and first grade like a tiny little bit easier, but I've been sharing the last several weeks about kindergarten and first grade and second grade and giving you some lesson ideas there. I wanted to share about older grades and sort of what I'm doing and how I'm making that work tonight. So I'm going to just sort of run through most of my grades. As I said, today and tomorrow I'm still doing this hybrid, like in their homerooms. Some kids are at home, some kids are at school. But starting Thursday, because Wednesday's like our transition day, starting Thursday, I'm going to have full classes in my classroom. So what's tricky for me is I had all these lessons, like I had my days of in-person lessons and what I would do, and then I had pre-recorded at-home lessons that the kids who are at home would be doing sort of independently on their own. And I had a Zoom day lesson, right? Well, now I just have to have 5 50-minute all-in-person lessons. And how do you adapt some at home, some digital, some Zoom into all-in-person? Like, part of me, if I were a fourth grade teacher, I'd be like, well, I'm just going to do all the stuff I did online. I'm just going to do that in person. But the problem for me is that all of my at-home lessons before were like singing heavy, right? Like, it's like, here's a new song, here's another song, here's a whatever. And so trying to like pull those song things and turn them into what are we going to do? That's where my struggle is right now. So that's where I wanted to share like what I'm doing and then how I'm going to try and integrate it. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you what I'm planning to do. So hopefully that means that if you're a digital person, or if you're an in-person person, or if you're a hybrid person, you'll be able to get something and steal something from these ideas, hopefully. I'm actually going to start with 5th grade and sort of work down. So 5th grade currently in person, I show up, I roll in, I do my cart. What's interesting for where I've been in the last couple weeks is that when I go into a classroom on my A days, those kids have seen me not at all. They've seen me in a Zoom lesson and that's it. But they're getting me first. I have 2 days in person with them, and then they go home and do 2 days of just online, where it's self-directed and the lessons I give them through Nearpod they do on their own, right? On the B days, they've had a Zoom day with me, 2 online at home days, and then they're now seeing me in person. So when I get to those B days where like they've had the Zoom day and the 2 at home lessons before they see me, I start by asking like, what do you remember? What do you remember from the Zoom? What do you remember from the Nearpod lessons? Tell me a detail, something that you know. And I ask that for a couple reasons. One, I want to like engage them and start to get them thinking about like, well, what have we done, to like have them sort of pull out and process some of those memories because it's been a while, right? But I also want to see like what they've taken from the lesson, what really stood out. And it's funny because there are some classes that like bam, 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 answer. And whenever they answer, I always write it up on the board. Like, oh, Mr. Rao wore a cool shirt. Like I even say like, ooh, you could say like Mr. Rao wore a cool shirt and then, okay, or a puppet showed up or whatever. So I write that out, or like, oh, this song, or, ooh, we saw the video about this, or we learned about this instrument. I always write that out on the board sort of to just give us some things to work off. And some classes are like, bam, 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 remember, remember, remember. And then some classes are like, we don't remember anything. So there's always like one kid who's like, well, the song about the paint. I'm like, yes, goodbye old paint. Tell me about that. And that'll trigger a memory, or trigger an idea, and we start to pull out more elements of things that they've gotten before. So I always like to do that for my B day kids. But if I'm doing my A day kids that they've not done anything, they've not done my at-home Nearpod lessons, or they've not done whatever. And Sandra's asking, have you created lessons on Nearpod? Yes. I've not done the pre-provided in the library lessons. I've done all my own lessons. That way when they're watching the videos, it's me that they're seeing. There's me, so I'm able to just sort of pre-record, and it lowers my workload as opposed to having to change something that's already on Nearpod. But those A-Day kids, they've only seen me on Zoom. So when I ask, what do you remember? They only remember what we did on the Zoom, which in different grades is different things. So getting them to remember and pull out. In those Zoom lessons, I try and do a song and then include some vocabulary and then get them on Nearpod. So hopefully remember a few things. But it's fun to like ask, like, what do you remember? To see if they can pull out and get some elements of things that they've done on previous days. So in my 5th grade, when I show up, we do, I ask them, what do you remember? And then we do body percussion. What body percussion do we do? Well, we start out, I always say we have 4 levels of body percussion. Or I say you have 2 instruments you carry with you all the time. Your voice, and then I talk about why we can't sing because, it's not safe because of COVID. And then talk about your body. Your body can be a percussion instrument. And I say we have 4 levels of percussion: clapping, patting, snapping, and stomping. And when I lead in, depending on the grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, depending on the grade, I will start with one level. It's always clapping at first. And then we do a couple exercises. Again, so depending on the grade, 3rd grade is going to have simpler rhythms. 5th grade is going to have more advanced rhythms, just to sort of get them going and trying, right? So we clap, and then I usually do patting by itself, and then I mix up the clapping and the patting. Again, trying to, like, as we go, scaffold and like, well, you can do clapping, fine. You can do patting, fine. Let's do them together. Okay, now you can do that, fine. Let's do more complex rhythms. Okay, you can do that, fine. Let's switch back and forth more. Okay, you can do that, fine. Let's add another level. So then we'll add in snapping, usually 3rd. Clapping, patting, snapping. So then we'll do snapping on its own. We'll do snapping with clapping. We'll do snapping with patting. We'll do all 3. We'll mix them up. And then we'll eventually then add stomping, which at that point I really like that, because then it gets them up and out of their chair. They're using their whole body. They're having to listen intently. They're having to do a lot, right? And it culminates in, we do the final thing with 4th and 5th grade that we do is I'll do, so we're doing like all kinds of patterns, like, and then they repeat, or like, and then they repeat. For 5th grade, I'll do a longer pattern. I won't tell them it's coming. We usually do 4-beat patterns, like dun, 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 right, or dun, 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 right, or dun, 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 dun. So we'll do like a 4-beat pattern, and then at some point I'll do an 8-beat pattern, and they're always like, what's happening? But then I'll extend it, so then we'll do a longer pattern, right, to sort of get them to listen in a different way, to listen for more things, and to incorporate more. The final thing that we'll do is stomp, pat, clap, snap. They do it. Then again, stomp, pat, clap, snap. They do it. Then I go, stomp, pat, clap, snap. They do it. Then I go, stomp, pat, clap. So we speed up, and they love that. That's like the best culminating body percussion activity that they could dream up, because it gets them to do this crazy, like, at the end. They love that. They think that's so funny. And then they feel like, oh, good, we got to like move around and do some stuff. And then we sit down. And then we define it. We talk about what it was. We talk about an accelerando, and I pull up, because I'm in their homeroom, I've taken a picture of my word wall and I put it up on the board. I could just write it on the board, but because we're going to transition back to the classroom, I want them to see what they're going to see. If that makes sense. I want them to see what it's going to look like when we're going to use the vocabulary wall in our room. I want them to already sort of know what to be looking for. So I've taken a picture of that word wall from my classroom, and I project it up on the board and give them that to sort of talk about tempo and accelerando. Have you done any of the music play body percussion with older grades? I don't have music play, so sorry, Rebecca, I have not. So I can't compare that. What am I going to do the next time I see them, right, for body percussion? So down the road, in the next rotation, there are a couple things that I sort of hope to do. So we can do longer patterns, right? We can do more complex patterns. We could do where I put up a visual representation using like a 3-line staff, and I write what the pattern they need to do on the board, and then they do it, right? That's something that we could do. Or you could even take and do the 3 or 4-line staff up on the board, and then have like movable little icons where they can create a body percussion pattern. Or at my school, what's really cool is I could give them a 4-line staff. It could be labeled snap, clap, pat, stomp. I could have them with like counters or movable whatever in their space create their own 4-beat pattern. And then because all my kids have iPads, which I know we are very blessed, but because all my kids have iPads, they could take a picture and then we could share it to AirPlay or whatever, and then each kid could have a pattern, a body percussion pattern that they've created, and the whole class has to read and play. So it's just another way to like, how would you show? If you don't all have iPads, guess what? If you have a document camera, they could write on a whiteboard or write on a dry erase pocket and create and then bring that up. Or they could just go up to the board and you could move around icons on the board. Whatever you want to do, but eventually my kids are going to be like creating their own patterns on those simplified staves, and then we're going to share out and try them. But it all starts with this lesson of what are the levels of body percussion, how do we do it, what do multiple different kinds of patterns look like. Another thing that we could do down the road in another rotation is I could say like, okay, you're so good at copying exactly what I do, right? So like I do this, and you do the exact same thing. Well, we could change it up so that I could say, I want you to take my clapping pattern and I want you to move it to a different level. So if I go, you could do same pattern, different place, right? Or if I do, you could do, right? So taking the rhythm and moving it to a different level. That's tricky. That's a transfer of knowledge, but they can do it. You could do longer versions of that, longer patterns. Then you could also say, I'm just going to say the rhythm, and you could put it on whatever level you want. Ta, 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 dee, ta. And they could go. The fifth graders are always like, can we do multiple levels? Sure. Ta, 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 dee, ta. Ta, 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 dee, ta. But it's just getting them to sort of transpose that in their head and think how else, changing the rhythm, the written rhythm or the spoken rhythm into performance. That's tricky. This is also a really cool thing for them because not only is it a critical thing, but it's also leading them into improvisation skills of like on the fly, moving from one level to another. It's not tricky for them because it's rhythms that they know and rhythms they've been successful with, but it's just the idea of moving it to different places and being able to play it in any of those places. It's a good skill to have, and it's also cool for like when they move from like a glockenspiel to a xylophone, or a xylophone, an alto to a soprano. They're taking those skills and they're changing it. They're just adapting or flipping it or whatever, and you can do that with body percussion so easily. So you could even then go to I'm going to do a pattern, and I want you to like don't do my exact rhythm pattern. So if I do ta, 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 dee, ta, you can do something sort of like it, but not exactly like it. Ta, dee, ta, dee, ta. Or if I did ta, dee, ta, ta, you could do ta, dee, dee, ta. You're going to change it just a little bit. And then that leads into more improvisation where I just give them beats or give them something else and they have to alter it or change it or do a little bit to it. That's down the road, but that's something that this exact activity will lead to, because I'm sort of getting them in the idea of what else can we do, and using our 4 levels. And it just takes a lot of familiarity with the different levels of body percussion before you move it somewhere else. It's slow, but it starts with a lot of repeating, a lot of echoing, which they will tire of if you don't switch to a new level or add another level of difficulty. That is just the getting used to doing that first that they will stay with you. This whole body percussion thing takes maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes. Probably more like 5. And so that's what I would suggest to start with. Because, again, it gets them up, it gets them moving, it gets them thinking in different ways, thinking about percussion, or thinking about body percussion, it gets them echoing, gets them listening, but especially gets them up and moving, which is really important when they're up and out of desks. Because, again, for the next day, we're stuck in desks, and then we'll be in the homeroom. When we've transferred to, or not in the homeroom, we'll be in my room, the music room. When we transfer to my music room, they'll be on their dots on the carpet, but they'll be able to easily stand up, stomp, whatever, because they won't have a chair or a desk in their way. So, but we'll start with body percussion still. Okay, so that's what we start with. We start with body percussion. We do multiple different levels. My kids, because I am new to the school this year, I am giving them all a crash course into rhythm reading. And I know the person before me was great and did some great things with rhythm reading, but the person at the school did ta, ti, ticka, ticka, syllables when they're reading. I don't do that. I use the Takadimi system, so ta, di, Takadimi. It's a personal preference. I like it because I think it transfers well to numbers later. So instead of instead of TT being a completely different sort of sound grouping, or ticka ticka being a completely different sound grouping, it's ta. The first sound of everything is the same. Ta, TT becomes ta di, ticka ticka becomes taka di mi, and that follows what the numbers do. So 1, 1 and one E and a. So I personally feel like it transitions really well. It's like the Gordon syllables with do and do day, but I can't say do to data very well. I feel like Takadimi is so much more attuned to what you do if you're a wind person, especially if you're like woodwind. So I that's my personal preference. I have a whole blog post about like all the common rhythm syllable systems, like even the French syllable system, like what you could do if you wanted. So that's on my blog if you're interested. You can look up rhythm syllables, what to say and why, or something, or common rhythm syllable systems. But the system I use is called the Takadimi system, and I think it's out of Ithaca College. I could be wrong. Eastman, I think they used it at Eastman. I don't know. Anyway, but all of that to say, we're doing like a crash course in the note neighborhood, which is this silly set of stories and things I created. It's on my TPT store, but it's basically just a set of stories to give context to rhythms, to give it like a narrative. Because I feel like kids remember narratives so much better than they remember just a concept. So if you give it a context, you give it a story, they'll remember it better. So the half note is the sassy half note. And why does she get 2 beats? Because I always get my 2 spots, so it's this silly thing, but it helps them remember. The kids are reading really well for the most part already, but giving them this story helps them sort of remember better and apply a little bit more. So all of my grades 2, 3, 4, and 5 are getting some sort of note neighborhood in their first lesson. So for second grade, it's just quarter note, quarter rest, eighth notes. For third grade, it's quarter note, quarter rest, eighth notes, and half note. For fourth grade, it's quarter note, quarter rest, eighth notes, half note, half rest. And it's that for fifth grade too, because there is only like so much you can pack. Like putting those stories together is it's a lot of time. So I don't want them to sit too long. So I get as much as I can, as quick as I can. For fourth and fifth grade, this is a review, and really the only thing that the note neighborhood is sort of doing is getting them to transition to the new syllable system. So it's pretty easy for them, and we can go pretty fast. One of the things I'll tell you is that the note neighborhood resources, they come as a PDF and a PowerPoint. So what I'm doing is basically I'm pulling all the PowerPoint slides over, and I'm just picking and choosing the ones I want. So instead of like clicking like, okay, we're finished with the quarter note one, now we're going to open the half note one. We're finished with that, let me shut off PowerPoint and start a new one. I'm pulling all the slides into one long PowerPoint. So all the story that I want is all just in one long PowerPoint, which is easy to do because they're PowerPoint files, and it just zip pulls right over. So it's all the stuff that I really need all in one place. So they're all doing that. So they've done body percussion, they've done some sort of rhythm reading, and then it becomes a little bit different depending on the grade. So my third grade, I'll tell you in a second. My fifth grade is doing Collect the Dragon's Gems, which is an iPad game that I created. It could be iPads, it could be Chromebooks, it could be in a browser. We all have iPads, so we're doing it on an iPad. But I could assign it as a homework assignment. But it's this game where like you have to choose the right rhythm. There's a note value one, so you have to choose the right note value that matches the term to collect the dragon's gem. And if you don't collect the dragon's gem, you get a little squishy bird coming out and like making a weird sound. This is just for me after doing the note neighborhood where I've talked to them about quarter note, eighth notes, quarter rest, half note, half rest. I want to see what else they know. So this game has those values plus whole note, whole rest, dotted quarter, dotted half, eighth rest, and like maybe something else. And so in the game, as they're playing on their iPad, I'm able to walk around and they'll be like, what's this? And I'm like, oh, good, interesting to know that you don't know that one. The cool thing about the game is like they can guess and move on. And if they guess wrong, well, they can keep going, right? But like as they're doing that, I'm walking around and assessing like, ooh, they don't know 16th note. That kid doesn't know 16th note. Or, ooh, they're all struggling on dotted whatever. So it sort of helps me see like where they are, even though like I know where in the curriculum where they should be, because of COVID, like maybe the curriculum we didn't get all the way through it. So using the game sort of helps me know that a little bit better. It doesn't like record their scores or anything. And I found like that because then they're like, but what if I get a squish bird? I'm like, then try the next one. And they're like, but it's not like recorded against me. It's like, no, just keep playing. So they like that. And then if they finish, because I told them, like, do the note value one first. If they finish early and there's still a minute or two, then they can go play the cymbals one, or they can play the tempo one, or they can play the dynamics one, because there are like 4 games in this game. So that's cool for them. And then there's the kids who are like, but Mr. Rao, I didn't finish. Or like, I finished this one, but I wanted to do the other one. I wanted to get all 4 at the time. Okay, well, they want to play all the games. So I can take, because the game works on iPad and it also works as a URL, I can then assign them in our online platform the URL, and then at home they can access the game if they want. They don't have to, and I keep saying, like, you don't have to, but if you want to go home and show your grown-ups or show your brother and sister or whatever, it's going to be there for you. So whenever I'm introducing this, I'm trying to find a way to send it home too, because I'm getting so little time with them, and I want them to be able to review this and play it again later if they want. Plus also, if and I've had people be like, well, but like, what if you haven't taught them the dotted half note yet? That's included in the game. I'm like, yeah, it's okay that they know it, right? Like, it's okay if they have familiarity. Like, they maybe don't know how to apply it, but they know what it is and what the name is. That's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. Or like, oh, but you haven't taught those dynamics yet. Well, that's fine. Like, it's good if they know, and then that lesson will be a breeze when you get to it or whatever. So anyway, so they get to play on it if they want. Okay. The second time I see them, we do body percussion, we read a little bit on the staff, we do note neighborhood and introduce 16th note, even though they probably got it in previous year, but we do it anyway. And then in this lesson, I do an introduction into the strings family. So there's another resource I made back in the day called the instrument families, I mean, it's a generic name, but it has files that help them identify instruments by how they make sound. And so for the strings one, it has 5 clues for each thing. It has the 5 clues for strings are, well, the instrument has to have strings, right? Clue number 1. Clue number 2, the strings have to vibrate to make sound. Basically, that's it. Clue number 3 helps them identify whether it's acoustic or electric. Clue 4 helps them find wood elements on the body. And clue 5 is identify how many strings it has, or the type of string. So those other 3 clues are really just to help classify further, but we go through that in class. We talk about all the things that make strings, and then we watch a video, well, 2 videos. There's Lindsay Sterling, who's an amazing violinist. There's a video she did called Round Table Rival, which is so much fun. I think I've shared about it before, but it's so much fun because it's like her on her electric violin and an electric guitarist in the Wild West, like battling. But it's crazy and cool because it shows sound waves. So like when the guitarist like strums his guitar, like sound, it looks like the Matrix almost, like waves of sound come out of it. And so you can have a conversation with kids about like the vibrating strings make the sound. Ooh, and if you plug in, you can get a bigger sound because of the amplifier, blah, blah, blah. And kids can see that. And so it's cool for them to see. It's cool for them to see electric versus acoustic or whatever. And so it's just a really fun video. And then there's another video by the Sleepy Man Banjo Boys where there are 3, I think, brothers, one on banjo, one on guitar, one on fiddle, and they play like a 3 or 4 minute thing. And it's really cool because the kids are like, they're our age or slightly older, and they're really good. So I show those videos, and that's basically all the time we have in the class, and they always ask, like, can we watch it again? So again, I'm like, hey, on our online platform, I'm going to send it to you so you can go watch it at home. Oh. And they like that. They like being able to go back and rewatch on their own time. And because I'm sending it to them through Nearpod, they're not going to YouTube, they're not going to get lost or whatever, and if they look it up on YouTube or whatever, that's their own problem. But the stuff I'm sending to them, I'm not just sending them to a YouTube link. I'm sending them to Nearpod with an embedded YouTube video so that they just watch it on the platform and they don't have to go to YouTube. Okay, I saw a couple quick questions. Oh, good, you like the Note Neighborhood, and they got to meet the Sassy Half today. That's great. Oh, and you let's see, Jennifer said she recorded the Note Neighborhood on Screencastify, so now when you do Note Neighborhood, you can send them a video of you reading it. Cool, for your kids at home, I'm thinking. If we purchase the game, can we post a link in chat on Teams? I don't know Microsoft Teams. So I don't know how that works, Sandra. What I'm doing, we're using Apple Classroom, so I can send it to individual students that way. You could embed the link on Google Classroom. You could embed the link on Seesaw. If Teams allows you to do that, cool. I just don't know how that works for that platform. But if you bought it and it sends it to kids, I mean, yeah, of course you can share it with them. Just don't share it like on your school website so that anybody who goes by can just pull the link. As long as it's a closed system and you can share it just individually with kids, that's fine. I hope that answers your question. But yeah, the cool thing about the game is like you can do it on an iPad, you can do it on a Chromebook, you can do it on a phone, you can send it through whatever, allegedly Teams. I don't know Microsoft Teams, but that's a fun thing. So, but here's my problem is now I have those are my in-class lessons. I'm about to have, it's called, what's the name of the game? If you go to my Teachers Pay Teachers store, it's like one of the most recent things. And I think I even put it in a links page the last couple days. But it's like Collect the Dragon's Gems or something. Symbols edition, symbol and vocabulary edition. Crystal, I'll send you a link if you're interested. Or send me an email, I'll send it to you. Sorry. So my problem is I have these in-person lessons that would be great, right? But I only have 2 of those. Because in my 5-day rotation, I was supposed to have 2 in-person lessons, 2 at-home lessons, and a Zoom lesson. Well, I need to adapt my at-home and my Zoom lessons for in-school learning. And the problem was a lot of those things of the at-home lesson were songs where the kids were going to sing because it's safe to sing at home. It's not necessarily safe to sing at school. Again, every school is deciding sort of on their own thing how that works. But at my school, I'm not singing inside. So how am I going to adapt those lessons? So my plan is in the 5-day rotation, one of those days we're going to try and go outside and do the singing portion of that we would do in Zoom. And I'm going to go out it's going to be me and my ukulele and thanks Jennifer for posting that. It's going to be me and my ukulele and me with my microphone headset singing outside. And I'm not going to have a lot of expectations about them singing or not. They're just going to see how it goes. I've never done it. I don't love the idea of being outside for a full day singing with my boombox, but we're going to try it. So that's going to be one of my days. The online lessons, I'm able to sort of shift some of that into in-person learning. So some of the things that I did on those online lessons, told them a little bit about myself, that I grew up in Nebraska, I lived in Georgia, I lived by the Great Lakes, when I lived in Michigan, and that leads into talking about the Erie Canal. And because I don't just sing a song, I always try and give context and a little bit more. I took the favorite folk song that I made for the Erie Canal, and I basically, what I did with my at-home kids was I took those slides and I put them into Nearpod. And the cool thing is I can do a voiceover recording on Nearpod, so I just basically had me reading the page, talking about some of that extra information about the Erie Canal. So how it was built, when it was built, what's a mule doing, what's a barge. It gives more context about the Erie Canal itself. So what I'm planning on doing is taking that lesson and sort of morphing it into an in-person lesson where we do go through and learn a little bit about the history. And then instead of singing Erie Canal, I'm going to say I have a Nearpod I'm going to send home to you where you can sing along. But today we're going to watch people sing. That's not nearly as... for me, I hate the idea of that, but because we can't sing at school, my plan is going to change. So I'm going to have the stuff to send home that I'm going to pull from that thing I've already created to send home so that they can sing the things we've already learned, right? But then in school, we'll do all of the extra stuff and then watch a video of someone singing. I actually have 2. So I might watch a portion of one and a portion of another and then do a compare-contrast to talk about what are the differences, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing for another book or another song called Get Along Little Dogies, which is super fun. So again, in that sort of time frame of westward expansion and, going out west or whatever. And then Your Name is a Song, which is a book I shared about several weeks ago. I pre-recorded myself reading it, but I think I'm just going to switch and do a reading in person in the classroom and just incorporate that book in. So that'll all transfer pretty well. I want to have some more interactive movement things and some more some more like actual doing stuff. So I'm going to try and incorporate a little bit more body percussion in there somewhere. And I'm still trying to figure out how I can infuse that in with the stuff I've already done. But I'm thinking maybe I'll have an ostinato pattern, or maybe one of those videos I have, I can pull in and do some body percussion in there. Or we could take some of those body percussion skills and put them on non-pitch percussion. The tricky thing is I've already taught over half of the grade level the lessons, so I don't want to like introduce anything too new that I'll have to then try and like push in somewhere else with the other grade. I hope all of y'all who've done these like rotations of got to get everybody the same things, I think understand sort of where I'm coming from. So another thing that I did on that at-home lesson, we did another song called Goodbye Old Paint. I'm really pushing the cowboy songs right now and the frontier songs because it sort of aligns with the curriculum they're doing. Plus also, this is a great time that it's like, we live in Kansas, so we live on a couple trails. Like the state, there are several trails that go through, cattle trails. Oregon Trail comes real close to us. I mean, there are all these things, so it fits in well with our state history, and now's a great time to do it because later on in the year, you know, if concerts come back, we'll get bogged down with that in the spring, or we'll get bogged down in a unit on ukulele or drums or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to do the songs now and get a bunch of those in as much as I can. So I'm pushing some of those through. And then because we've learned about the strings family, we're going to pull in some more of those strings things. So I have some really cool videos of like the earth harp, which is this the world's largest string instrument with like 1,000-foot long cables in a valley in California. And there's a video on how to make string instruments at home. And there's a video about like Asian instruments and how they're different, how they're similar. So there are these cool videos you can pull in and things to sort of give more context. And then I'm going to have sort of a writing reflection activity that'll go in that'll sort of give kids a chance to like pull in like, well, what was your favorite instrument and why, or what did you learn, or what are some things to give them another chance to sort of regurgitate the information in a different sort of a way. Okay, and especially one thing I want to show is the video I shared on my not on my blog, but on the website I created for digital lessons, which is digitalmusiclessons.weebly.com. There's a video I shared where there are two musicians, and one is more of a Western, like actual Western, like she sings like American folk music with a banjo, and then there's a musician who is more Eastern, so she does like Asian instruments, and they do a fusion song where one is on banjo and one is on the guzheng, and they play together, and it's really cool. So to show sort of that banjo sound with the sound that kids would be like, ooh, it sounds like Chinese music I've heard before, to have them see that fusion would be really cool. So the cool thing about COVID-19 lessons is even though we can't sing, I'm now giving so much more context and so much more like musical world content that I would have never been able to do before. So silver lining, I guess. I don't know. Oh, okay. So while I'm talking about this, because if I'm floating around the room or I'm in the room or whatever, I'm trying to limit my contact with my computer. I'm trying not to touch it. So one of the things that I've shared before is that in my in-person lessons, I've created like a master PowerPoint that has all the songs I want embedded on the slides, all the videos I want embedded on the slides. Nancy, it's digitalmusiclessons.weebly.com. So all of that stuff embedded in one place. So I don't have to like click and find a website or click and go to a thing, or I'm just trying to not touch my computer in class as much as I can to limit if I'm touching germs or whatever. I don't want it to get on my computer that I'll take back to my classroom. So one of the things I'm using a lot is my little clicker. And I used to have a different clicker that was like $13. This one's maybe a few dollars more, but not a ton. And what I found about these clickers is they are very inexpensive, and there's not like one brand that makes them. There's probably one factory that makes them, but like 1,000 different brands claim them as like our clicker. Anyway, this clicker is really cool. And so what does it have? So on here, I don't use this button very much because it's like switch between slides, or like it'll like activate a hyperlink or whatever. Like I don't really use that very often. And then you got backward and forward. So if you're on a PowerPoint, you can go backward and forward to the slides. What I love is if you press and hold the bottom, it'll just turn your screen black. So if you're like, ooh, I don't want that to be up there for a second, you just press and hold and it'll shut it off. So cool. And then the yellow is a laser. Ooh. But what I really like about this one that you don't get on some other clickers is it has your on and off slider here. It's very slim, so it fits in my pocket or, whatever. I have not yet had a kid ask me if it's a vape pen, so that's cool, even though it sort of looks like that. But on the side that I really love is there's a volume button. So if there's a video playing, I can control the volume from here. There are not a lot of clickers that do that, and that makes this super valuable for me because it does all the things I want plus volume, and that is a lifesaver. So it's really not expensive. And so, and the other cool thing is, so here on the end, this is where it connects to your computer with a little USB thing. And when you're not using it, the USB fits right in here. It's very, very small. It's super easy to connect, super nice. I guess the USB not in here makes it look even more like a vape, but I promise it's not a jewel. Anyway, okay, so that's my 5th grade lessons. 4th grade is very similar. So what they're getting in their lessons, they're getting body percussion, they're getting note neighborhood, they're getting some sort of, other thing in the lesson. So what my kids are doing in 4th grade, we do a speech piece I learned from my ORF levels that has a poem and someone asked the brand of this. Norvay, K-N-O-R-V-A-Y, but it's on the links page. I have a whole Amazon ideas list of tech stuff, so it's on there. But like I said, if you can find one that looks like this, it's probably from the same factory, just a different brand name. If that helps, Rebecca. Okay, so the 4th graders getting very much the same thing. Body percussion of some form, but more fit towards their grade level. Note neighborhood, again, same thing, just paring back the rhythm so it's more appropriate for their grade level. And then I'm doing, there's a thing I learned at my ORF levels where there's like a poem and then you can add on an ostinato on top and another ostinato on top of that, all spoken. So it's giving them the layered effect and also a rhythmic ostinato. You can add a body percussion if you want. Oh, thanks Heather for adding that, the list there. And then what I'm adding in another day is we talk about different kinds of imitation, echo imitation, simultaneous imitation, and canonic imitation. And then we'll use that throughout the rest of the lessons of the week. What's trickier for this grade is one of the digital lessons, there's a lot of singing. So it's like, but what I think about the digital lessons is I sort of planned them that if they sang, great, because you can sing at home. If they didn't sing, you're still getting a lot of valuable information. Because I know there are kids who are clicking through this at the daycare or the whatever, and they're probably, maybe if it's just them in a room full of other kids with also have headphones on, they may not be comfortable standing up and singing or whatever. So I made those digital lessons with if they don't sing, that's okay. And so that's sort of what I'm saying. If we don't get to okay, we're going to sing this now, that's fine. And they're still getting the context, they're still getting the history of the song, they're still getting to see how it flows in with history and why the song is important. And that's great. What a thing that we get to add. So nice we get to make those connections. So we're actually getting a music history class a little bit. But I'm sending those sung parts home if they want them. And then in 4th grade, we're doing a patriotic push. We would have had a Veterans Day concert, but surprise, we can't because COVID. I wanted to make sure to get to 3rd grade because in 3rd grade, we're doing the cup song. And by the cup song, I mean a folk song where you can add in the cup movement game. So the song that we're doing is I've Been to Harlem, or also known as Turn the Glasses Over. It's an old song. It's a harvest song. Some people say it's a drinking song, but I'm just going to call it a harvest song. But it's a super fun song. If you don't know, it goes, I've been to Harlem, I've been to Dover, I've traveled this wide world all over, over, 3 times over. Drink all the lemonade and turn the glasses over. Okay, originally it was drink all the brandy wine and turn the glasses over. But you know what? The song is not about what they're drinking. It's about what they're doing. They're celebrating the harvest. They've made it through the harvest. If the song was beer, beer, let's all have beer, then I would feel bad about changing the word and being like, oh, I'm not, giving the true song. But it is a tiny little part of the song, so it doesn't matter. I'm not saying brandy wine, I'm going to say lemonade. Anyway, What we're doing in class, how do you do this where you sing the song and then do the cup game? We're not. So instead, my third graders are getting body percussion, they're getting a little bit of Note Neighborhood, and then me pre-recorded on the screen. I'm going to sing, and we go through a little bit of the folk song set to get the history and context and whatever. When it comes time for the singing, me recorded on the screen, I'm going to sing the song, and I have actions for them to do. So, I've been to Harlem, I've been to Dover, I've traveled this wide world all over, 3 times over. Drink all the lemonade and turn the glasses over. Those are the actions. I sing it through like 3 or 4 times in the recording, and they do the actions. They're not singing in class, they're just doing the actions. And then I was like, well, if we're going to be in a classroom and they're going to be sitting at their desks, we're going to do the cup game, because what a perfect time where their desk is right in front of them. Let's use it. So I have these plastic cups. They're pretty sturdy, and each kid gets one. I bought them at Target, and the reason I also wanted to share about this tonight is go to Target or Walmart or whatever now, because I bought these on summer clearance years ago, and now is when these will all be on sale. So those like camping sets and whatever, where you can get like 6 for $3. Now they're probably 6 for 50 cents. Get them, get the sturdier, nicer ones so you're not working with like solo cups. And these are also nice because they're sort of small. So what we do is we do the, Mr. Rao on the screen sings and we learn the actions. And then I teach them separately. Ooh, Matt says IKEA. Ooh, I didn't know are they on sale at IKEA, Matt? Or are they just for sale at IKEA? Either way, you're probably not paying that much money, but yeah, get a nice set. Anyway, so then separately, Matt says those cups are nice at IKEA in assorted colors. I only have 3 colors because I bought them at Target. I wasn't cool and didn't have an IKEA when I bought them, so. But now I guess I'm not going to replace them. Okay, so then we learn the cupcake separate from the song, right? And then we go through it slowly, and what I've learned is you have to go step by step, and then you have to give them, let's try it. We'll try it a little bit faster. Let's add a couple parts together. Let's try it a little bit faster until they can get the whole thing in, right? And then I turn Mr. Rao on the screen singing back on, and we just do the cups with the video. And honestly, kids, especially if I'm doing a 3rd grade, maybe not 4th grade, but 3rd grade, they cannot process all of that at once. They can't sing and play and successfully and stay up to tempo right away. So it's okay that someone else is singing while they're just focusing on this. What I give them to take home then is I send home through their online learning platform the slides of the folk song where they're learning the context of the song and the history and all of that. And then I also send them the video of me singing, and then another video I created where it's me singing and doing the cut pattern, and it slowly speeds up. So I send all of that home so that they can work on that at home and then sing and play at home. And I always say, you can't use your mom's wine glasses, but find a cheapo plastic cup and you can do the song with that. But I've had several kids who are like, we went home, or I had a parent send me an email with their kid doing the cup thing and singing the folk song. It's really, really cool that we're able to do that and send that home. If you don't have any of that, you could take a video of yourself and put it on YouTube and send home the link to parents if you don't have an online learning platform or whatever. But to be able to say okay, that song you learned, you can go home and take it home and do it, which is really cool. So that's the cup thing. And then there's a group on YouTube called Kaboom Percussion, and they have a video of a super advanced version of the cups thing, and then a version of their bloopers, and my kids love that. That's their favorite. So I make sure to include that in the online thing that I send home too. I also make sure to say oh, the cup game? Well, guess what? It's older than Pitch Perfect. It's been around for a long time. So don't be I can only do it with I've got my ticket for the long way round. No, you can do it with any song you want. In fact, do it with an older song because it's older than Pitch Perfect. So do it with I've Been to Harlem, and that's just fine. Okay, So, but I wanted to talk about the cups because now's the perfect time to go buy them. You could probably find them on clearance, or if you're cool like Matt, you can go get them at IKEA. If you don't have an IKEA, they probably have them on clearance at like your local Walmart or whatever. And I see Heather say that NAEIR has tumbler cups available. You ordered 20 17-ounce for $2.50. Oh, cool. If you've never heard of, I want to say NAIR. I always want to say that, but NAEIR. It's a sort of a discount surplus site for teachers. You have to register as a teacher, but once you do that, you can get all sorts of randomness for just a few dollars, and you pay shipping. So that's sort of cool. But yeah, it's another great place to get them. But like I said, if you want to just go to Target, if you want a reason to go to Target, you can probably get them on clearance now. Or check online. You could probably get them too. You could use stacking cups for sure. But I like these because they're like the juice cups. So they're smaller. They're not as tall. And they feel a little bit easier for my kids to handle and use. Okay, that's some of my 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And that gives you a little bit more of an idea of what they're doing in those grades. I still don't know what we're going to do when we transition on Thursday, how it's all going to look. So check back with me next week and we'll see how these lessons have gone and what I've needed to adapt. So I would love your ideas about how to adapt. A couple quick things. Earlier on in the video, I asked, are you watching this on your phone or are you watching it on your computer? If you could leave in the chat to tell me which one you are, that would be helpful because I'm considering a way to do the video instead of vertical to do it horizontal, which would work great if you're watching on your computer. And maybe okay if you're doing it on your phone, you could maybe turn it to see. But if you could leave that idea, that'd be great. One more thing I asked of folks, if you know of any great books that you're using for your classroom, that you're using that feature Indigenous peoples, whether that's Native American or Aboriginal or Maori or whatever, any books that you use in your classroom that you love that feature Indigenous peoples, if you could like leave a comment with that or send me an email, that'd be even better so I don't lose it. makemomentsmatter@gmail.com and let me know because I created a list on Amazon of those books with Indigenous peoples, and I'm trying to make that list bigger and better. So if you have an idea and you want to send that my way, that would be great. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. I hope this was helpful and gave you some ideas. I'm going to come back next week and tell you how it went, if it actually did transfer well or not. Who knows if it will. But I'm going to come back next week and share a little bit more. So I hope I'll see you next Monday for the number 9 Musical Monday video of the year. Thanks so much everyone and have a great week.